Hello and welcome to Trader Chat. It's Johnny Ward with Flynn Goward. Flynn is in a room that I think is going to be turned into some sort of a nursery for the baby that's on the way. Is that right, Flynn?
That is indeed. I've got the cot just over there awaiting our bed to arrive. So the due date is on the 9th of September. So we're well in the danger zone, Johnny.
Into the danger zone. And if the baby were to play for Arsenal, he or she probably couldn't make them any worse than they are at the minute, which is a subject obviously close to Flynn's heart, which we're going to talk about very shortly because we have Premier League to get through, we've golf, we also have cricket and the US Open tennis, and we have racing from the weekend as well. Let's start with football, Flynn. I don't think anyone was overly surprised that Man City blitzed Arsenal, but maybe it was just the meek nature of the defeat that would have depressed Arsenal fans like you. Xhaka getting sent off for a ridiculous challenge. I imagine City were popular in accumulators over the weekend.
They certainly were. Everyone wanted to be on City. I was actually watching it in the office, and a lot of my mates and traders around me were saying that how City were just going to actually walk all over us. I was feeling quite positive after the midweek victory in the Cup. I know they only played West Brom, but we were more positive. And I thought that attacking, we actually looked right for the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And then as soon as we let it go in, just so poor defensively again. It's just the defence. Going forward, I don't mind us. I don't mind that creativity in the middle. It's just at the back. We have still got players out. You could say that our first two centre-backs were out, so Gabriel and Ben White. But I mean, it's just a massive rebuilding job. I don't want to dwell on Arsenal too much because we are just really poor.
Victories for Man City, victory for Man United, a victory for who else in the title race? Obviously Chelsea and Liverpool drew, and I imagine that was an interesting betting match. I actually thought Chelsea were overpriced, but in the end, obviously they were delighted to get a draw.
They certainly were. Liverpool were the well-bet team at around the 29 to 20 mark. There was a lot of money for Liverpool for the off. I think they went off about the 244 mark. 6 to 4 was there for ages as well beforehand. So there's late money coming for Liverpool. And Liverpool drawing against Chelsea was probably the best result for us for the weekend in terms of the football. Like I said, laid Liverpool pretty heavily at 29 to 20. As we were happy to get that beat, although it wasn't looking likely, obviously, after the Reece James red card. It was a really good game to watch, even though there was a red card. Like when you go back to the Arsenal and City game, and the red card completely killed it because of the golfing class. Whereas these two, it probably actually brought them closer together. I thought Chelsea looked really positive. I thought Azpilicueta showed some real good kind of veteran qualities towards the end of the game, playing up to the referee and all that type of stuff.
Arsenal could do with some of that stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Ramifications for the outrights then after the games of the weekend. Man United are 5-1 from 11 to 2. I would say that's probably more to do with the fact that Ronaldo's come in. They were as big as 13 to 2 for the league before that news, and they're coming to 5-1 now. But we have actually seen a little bit of money for United, so people thinking that obviously Ronaldo, one of the best players in the world, even though he's 36, is going to do bits for them. City clipped into 65 from 5 to 4. So after the drubbing of Arsenal, just a real small clip for City at the front of the market.
Are they value at odds against, do you think?
No. I think it's very open this year. I think it's one of the most open years we've had. I still think Chelsea are valued, to be honest. Chelsea actually went out to 11 to 4 from 5 to 2 after drawing. But I think drawing with 10 men for most of the game against Liverpool at Anfield is no mean feat. And I think it's probably a moral kind of 3 points, really. In the fact that they're obviously only getting the 1 point, but they feel like it's probably a win. And I think that they showed their true quality there. I don't think that Lukaku is going to be as good against the bigger teams. I think he will get found out. And he will.
Well, that was his old problem back in the day, but I thought he'd eradicated that.
Yeah, well, he still got called a flat track bully quite a few times in the office the other day in terms of when he's going to face smaller teams. And when he does, he'll certainly be getting my fancy teams. I do think he'll bulldoze them. Ronaldo, let's talk about Ronaldo for a minute. We have got some specials on site about Ronaldo. I just want to spin through quickly, Johnny.
We do indeed. Cristiano Ronaldo score more goals than Harry Kane to score 22 plus Premier League goals, score more than Salah this season, and score more than Lukaku. Some great specials there.
Yeah, exactly. So some innovative specials there. If you want to score a certain amount of goals and score more goals than the aforementioned players, they are in the specials part of football part of the site. He's favourite for Player of the Year as well, actually. He's been put in at the 11 to 2 mark to win Player of the Year, which I think is pretty short. And he's 5-1 to be top goal scorer. Again, I could see that being a little bit too short as well. I think there's going to be a big overreaction. But more importantly, I'm not sure how many games he's going to play. Like, have they brought him back to win the Champions League?
Well, yeah, Solskjaer says he's not going to sit on the bench, but he's not, like, it doesn't make any sense if he's not going to be at least being taken off in a lot of games, because he is 36. And not only that, they have a wealth of attacking options. And I guess the question mark with Solskjaer is, how does he fit? If Ronaldo starts, what does that mean for the rest of the team? And just reading in the Irish Times today, Ronaldo's stats when it comes to essentially the work off the ball, chasing back, winning the ball back, is terrible, really, really bad. It's just not part of his game, and it's not going to get any better either. So it's all going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's certainly only going to get worse as well with his age now, and compared to what you see. And it will be interesting to see how United fans react to him. Obviously, seeing him play for United back in the day, he's going to be a completely different player now.
He's a different player. And just looking at the next manager to leave post, it's surely a bit of an overreaction that Arteta has 9-4 on, because they have, obviously their first game was winnable, but they've had a tough start.
I think it is an overreaction. He is now, I think it's 4-9, wasn't he? Yeah,
4-9.
Yeah. So 4-9 to go next. I think that's pretty short. But then if you look around the league, I'm not sure there's a huge amount of kind of challenges for him at the moment. He's the only one we've spoken about potentially going. And there's obviously noise about Antonio Conte potentially coming in. I think it's like a good few more drubbings against lesser sides. Don't mean any disrespect there. As an Arsenal at the moment, we are a lesser side. But some of the smaller sides to actually really push that on. I wouldn't mind laying that 4-9 at the moment. Just moving on to the Prem, just quickly touch on the Champions League. So I move us after the Champions League draw in the week. PSG 3-1 from 11-4, so pushed out ever so slightly. Chelsea 15-2 from 17-2, they've been clipped in, and then Dortmund been clipped into 33 from 40. And just really quickly on the Championship, it's already looking like a two-runner heat in the Championship. Fulham 13-8 and West Brom 11-5, and it's 12-1 bar those two. So not the most competitive stuff to start off in the Championship. Two main runners there. Both of those teams have won 4 on the bounce, hence why they're so clear of the remainder in terms of the better market, and they're both in 13 points. So that was the kind of football from the weekend. Johnny, anything more on football? Or do you want to move on to racing?
We can move on to racing. I imagine Benbatl's defeat in the celebration might. He SP'd at 9-4, beaten obviously by Lavender Blue, 20-1 shot. That must have been a good result. It was actually quite enough weekend of the racing front, but I presume Goodwood was centre stage.
It was indeed. It's again, I think I said it last week. It's a weird point in the racing calendar at the moment where you are just waiting for your champion stage, your ledger, part of the triumph, and then you want to move on to the jumps racing, don't you? So it's that weird kind of Saturday stages where it's just kind of concerts and all that gear. The celebration mile, Benbatl was actually difficult to lay. Really struggled to lay Benbatl, unfortunately. Lavender's Blue obviously got up to win. Was a nice winner in the book, obviously, but Chindit was the main loser. They all wanted to be on Chindit, but that one got beat, so we were pretty happy with that. Dancing King got the job done in the March stakes, and it actually looked like he would get collared by Nagano for ages, but Nagano just never quite got there for favourite backers. Both ended up being losers, and neither were great results for the firm.
Big punt on the winner.
Yeah, there certainly was indeed. And then we had the Beverley Bullet, the 315 from Beverley. That went away to Marvellous. A fantastic result for us. The only horse we could lay in the race was Dakota Gold. He's kind of been well versed in these sprint races over the last year or two. He was the only one we could lay, and was a substantial loser in the book. So we were happy to get that one beat. But that was it really from the racing front. Just kind of looking forward. We've got a decent race in France this weekend. It's the Moulin, isn't it? That'll be on the site shortly. I think it's going to be Bailly versus Poetic Flare, isn't it?
Indeed, yeah, and he's just keeps standing up to this schedule that Jim Bulger asked of him, so it'll be interesting. And we've got a couple of Zoom calls for the Irish Champion Stakes coming over the next few days. So we are kind of counting down to that. It's less than 2 weeks away now. I
actually went to the Irish Champions Day a couple of years ago, maybe. Really decent day out, actually. How's the on-course game going in Ireland at the moment, or is it not?
Well, sure, it's still like essentially 500, sometimes 1,000 at race meetings. So it's struggling. It's struggling badly, and it'll be interesting to see. I mean, the government is still very slow with the restrictions easing, and racing's been, to my mind, racing's been badly left behind. There is a bit of an indoor-outdoor sort of debate, but yeah, it's very tough times for the on-course.
Okay, well, fingers crossed for the on-course guys over there. Obviously, no quite people from the car that you get back as quick as possible, and you guys can go and enjoy your racing again.
And Rory McIlroy, a good performance, 22 under at Caves Valley in Baltimore, but Cantlay wins 17-foot putt to beat DeChambeau in this decider on Sunday.
Surely you watch this one, Johnny. Surely.
Clearly, I'm reading all this just like educating myself for the purposes of work here. But it's good to see Rory. He's hitting something of a vein of form, is he?
He is. The course will suit very well, but to shoot 22 under anyway, you have to play good golf and kind of correlated well to courses that he's gone to before. But a great performance from him. It means that he starts at 3 under next week. We'll get onto the Tour Championship shortly, actually, because there's a little funny format to it. But just quickly talking about the tournament just gone, DeChambeau and Cantlay were miles clear for ages. Cantlay just putted the lights out all week. He just didn't stop holding putts. It was unbelievable. DeChambeau was just driving really, really well. I saw a stat that he was actually losing strokes on approach. But how can you be 27 under and lose strokes on approach in the field? It's unbelievable. So he's obviously just doing everything else so well. There was a really long playoff. It was 2 in and throw in. At one stage, I saw that DeChambeau actually traded at 102 when Cantlay stuck it in the water. That was before the playoff, I believe. During the playoff, DeChambeau touched 66 on. Didn't see that, and DeChambeau obviously got beat by Cantlay in the end. It was real 2 in a row. There's a fantastic shot from Cantlay actually on the par 3 when DeChambeau stuck it to maybe about 4.5 feet, and you think, oh, that's it. And then Cantlay stuck it to 2 feet. Just a really, really good watch last night. We actually laid Bryson before the final round at 6-4. So getting him beat was a fantastic result for the firm.
Who's your main golf trader?
Main golfing trader is Glenn. Glenn used to do the RP podcast and stuff like that. So I'm sure that plenty of the Star Sports aficionados will be familiar with Glenn. I'm just going to get up here because we did have our end of round leader offer. I'm just going to get up and see who actually popped on. I saw that we actually did a tweet about it earlier. So we have an end of round leader offer which we run for every PGA Tour event. So it's called This Round's on Us. So if you have a player leading at the end of any round, we'll refund 50% of your stake as a free bet up to £100 if they fail to win. So Bryson DeChambeau, Rory McIlroy, John Rahm and Sam Burns were all 4 players that qualified for that offer. So if you did back any of those 4, you've got 50% of your stake back as a free bet up to 100 quid. So pretty decent offer to get involved in. And it's an even better offer to get involved in this week, moving nicely into the Tour Championship. So the way that this works, if you aren't a golf aficionado like Johnny Ward, his true self, who was on the call, what they basically have at the moment is you've got the FedEx Cup playoffs. So you had it last week and they whittled the field down, and then they had it again this week and they whittled the field down until you've got 30 left. So 30 go to East Lake to play the Tour Championship on Thursday. But they stagger the start. So depending on how well that you performed in the previous events, they will stagger the start. So the leader, Patrick Cantlay, will start 10 under, then it goes to 8 under, and I think 7, and so on until level par. So the most shots that you can start behind is 10 shots. So it's a good one to get involved in with our offer, because obviously if you're leading at the end of any round, then if a player fails to win, then you're guaranteed 50% of your stake back. So if you did want to play one at the front of the market who's actually towards the top of the leaderboard, that could be a play. And we've actually priced up the FedEx Cup winner, and we've also priced up the winner in stroke play, so just to shoot the lowest score over the 72 holes. So we've got them both priced up on site to win the actual FedEx Cup and win the actual tournament of the Tour Championship itself with the staggered starts. John Rahm's 4-1, Patrick Cantlay's 4-1, Bryson DeChambeau 9-2, Tony Finau, who won the Northern Trust the other week, is 13-2. Then we're 18-1 bar. And to win the stroke play part, so just the lowest 72 hole score, John Rahm is 6-1 favourite there. He's been favourite for all of these. He's just in unbelievable form, doesn't do much wrong at all. DeChambeau is 11-1. McIlroy, as you just said, Johnny, performing really well at the moment. He's also 11-1.
11s.
DJ 12, Chauffeur 12. Chauffeur loves it around East Lake. And then we're 13-1 bar. And we've got loads of specials going on with the Tour Championship. It's a good fun event, and it's good fun for the players because they're paying for $15 million as well. Yeah,
that always helps. Each way turns a fifth of the odds, 5 places there. And moving on to cricket now, England v India. I read today that the wicketkeeper Joss Butler will miss the 4th test against India because his wife is expecting their 2nd child, and all this is ahead of you. Well, obviously your first child is ahead of you anyway. Probably missing work. Ben Keith having to, I don't know, paper over the cracks when there's no Flynn in because he's on paternal leave. But anyway, England versus India.
Yeah, England versus India. England triumphed over India in the most recent test match. India were favourites before the off in there around even money. We actually had a really big sum at even money, so fantastic to get them beat. It was actually really enjoyable to watch. A, laying them, and B, the fact that it was England winning. We've got some huge cricket fans in the office as well, so it was nice to give him the double cheer rather than the little cheer under the table that some people may do or may not do. And it was really nice to just see him completely roll them out. Jimmy Anson getting through their top order in the first innings, and then Ollie Robinson had a really good game too. And then the opening batsmen actually did a bit of a job, didn't they? When we put together our score, and Joe Root come to the party again. So the cricket was a really good result for us last week. We have had an absolute torrid time in terms of results in the last month, I'd say. So
in general or in cricket?
In general, I mean cricket, to be fair, but mainly the 100. Quite a few poor results in the 100. Football, racing. I mean, to be honest, the last month, if Ben could just forget about the last month, he would, and I think I'd do the same. So hopefully, onwards and upwards, and the results will start to change for the firm. But that was cricket for the last week. Last thing to talk about, and this is looking forward to probably be the US Open, which is starting today.
Indeed, and Emma Raducanu, who obviously was one of the stars in some respects at Wimbledon, qualified for the main draw. Is this much of a betting heat?
Well, if we look at the men's to start with, Djokovic is your 8-11 favourite there. Then I think Medvedev was second in, and then Zverev. So you obviously got Federer out. You've got Rafa Nadal out, so that obviously doesn't help it to start with. I'm just trying to find the outright betting for the women's now, which is actually obviously down at the moment because they've started to play. But we will have outright betting up as soon as the first round matches are over. We do have an offer on the tournament. Get 50% of your stake back as a free bet up to 50 quid if your player is beaten in a final set tie break, and that's on match bet singles. So got some offers to get stuck into on the US Open tennis, and we'll have all the matches priced up on site. So keep an eye there.
Djokovic just wins, is he?
You'd think so. I thought 8-11 looked a bit big actually when I scanned through and didn't see any Nadal and any Federer, but the algorithms and the Betfair will know more than Flynn Goward anyway. Let's
before we finish up, let's have a little look at the crib.
I can have a little scan around. So baby's going to be in there.
And that baby who enters the world shortly, I mean, the beautiful, beautiful joy and fortune of being the son or daughter of somebody who works for a bookmaker. Life is set up for you, really, isn't it?
I know. I have actually been thinking of this because we are expecting a little boy. So the first time I can take him racing, the first time I can teach him how to compile when he's a bit older.
Bad each way and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a bit worrying I'm going to be teaching him how to compile, but.
And he's been born when his dad's football team, like the great traditional power that is Arsenal, is particularly. Can't even say the word, really, can I?
In the bottom drawer over there, I actually bought him two like really old school Arsenal baby grows, so like the old Rocastle shirt and all that type of stuff. But I did make a point of buying the old ones rather than the new ones, so he's wearing the classic and not any of the jersey, which the torrid Arsenal players are sporting at the moment, unfortunately.
I actually think they will. I think they'll rally. I think they may well win their next 2 league games in the league, which are quite winnable. Flynn, it's been great having you on.
Thank you very much.
That was Trader Chat. We will be back next week.